Holly, it is such a pleasure to see you. I don't know if you remember, but almost what I would almost say 30 years ago, 25, 30, somewhere there, when I first really started doing high profile music interviews when I was with 680 News. You were one of the first. I still have the photo of you and I, which I am going to put up on this interview. You had on a you did have glasses on. You had on sort of like a straw cowboy hat kind of
Oh,
thing,
okay. Yeah.
and of course, looking stunning.
Oh,
And I wouldn't say I was nervous, but I was so enamored because I'm thinking to myself, oh, geez, I got Holly Cole. And we did a great interview. And from there, we did a
yes.
series of interviews over the years. It's
That's
been
it.
a while. So for me to be able to be on my own profile and doing this again, it's like, love it. Thank you
I
so
do
much for doing
too.
the interviews back then. And thank you for the interview today.
All of these interviews are my pleasure, and I've enjoyed all the ones we've had all along. And I remember that first one too. Did you have long, long hair?
Yes, I
Yes, I remember
did.
that.
It's
That's right.
all gone now. All gone. Um, But we had such great conversations, and you were so open. I mean, we talked about, if I remember correctly, you broke your jaw
Oh
back
boy, that was
when.
a long time ago. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you talked about that. You talked about so many things. Um, what was it about back then that you were? It wasn't just being so open with your music, but it's so open with your life, the roads that you've traveled, the things that you've done. What was it about? What is it about yourself that you can be so open with fans? Whereas some people, they're like, I'll give them a little bit here, but I won't give them there. You just like, here it is.
Well, it has a lot to do with who you're talking to. That's for what, that's for sure. And I was talking to you, but I come from my family's pretty open, and I come from a part of the country I'm in Canada here, and I come from a part of the country that is pretty down to earth and pretty open group. It's the east coast of Canada. I grew up in Nova Scotia, so that's kind of the way people are there.
What is it about all these years with this genre of music that not just love so much, but you represent so well?
Well, thank you. Jazz has always attracted me because it even as a teenager, when I was just starting out and stuff, jazz really appealed to me on a number of levels, and one of the main ones was that it showed me that I could make a really personal statement, much more personal than I saw pop music of that time was. I really felt that it was something that could be really about me and in a personal, individual, specific way, and that it entailed also communicating with other musicians, and of course the music itself is beautiful and intimate and complex and open and fun too. My dad my dad and my mom were both classical musicians, and they hoped that I would become a classical pianist, which was not going to happen. And I remember thinking that they did though expose me, to all kinds of music that was also complex and rich harmonically and stuff, and interesting and had a huge history of classical music. But it didn't appeal to me so much. But when I heard jazz for the first time, I thought that's like classical music for people that are bad. That's what I thought.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I heard when I heard it. And so, and also, of course, the spirit of improvisation appealed to me so much too. So, you know,
Because it's funny because you have been a staple point when it comes to jazz, Canadian jazz. Um, but you have actually seen the progression of music in the last 30 plus years. You could talk about grunge, pop, the way pop has changed, hip hop, R&B, rock, which sort of went from here to here. So many different things have been going on. The landscape of how music is presented, from music videos to being online, Spotify, Apple, all things like this. How did and vinyl to this to no vinyl to disc to MP3 players, and how did you
yeah.
survive all of this,
Well,
including Napster?
Well, this is it. It was certainly fascinating to watch it all, and and be part of it. And certain aspects of it I enjoyed, and certain aspects of it I didn't. And I have to say now, in the current climate, I wish that social media was not so important. There's social media is going to be there, and that's fine and everything. But I find that it just what's been happening is there's a movement away from the music part of music. you know, and what's become more important has been imaging, and that, of course, is exaggerated on social media, and that's a shame for music's sake.
I could not agree with you more on this. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's the way of the world these days. Hopefully, people will go back a little bit at least to what I really enjoy, and it sounds like you enjoy too. Can you talk about again? Because I mentioned about breaking your jaw. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because of course, that's your money maker in
Well, it wasn't.
being in this industry.
Sure, it is now, but it wasn't when it happened. Like it was before my first record, when I broke my jaw. It was right after I signed with a manager. So I hadn't a record contract yet. And what happened was I got into this huge car accident in Montreal and smashed my jaw. And the doctors said, and so I had to have operations and everything, and then the doctors said, well, I was 21, I think, and the doctor said, you don't think that you're going to be able to sing like you used to. And it was just starting, and singing was all I had, what I loved the most and everything. And so you know, I don't know if they should have said that, but it worked well on me for them to say that anyway, because I was like, oh yeah. So I, so I, so I ended up with my jaw wired shut for 6 weeks. So for a month and a half, or 2 months actually, I practiced all day long, like practicing like that with my jaw wired shut. And then when the wires came off, well, you can't actually, you don't just get to open your mouth doesn't really, your mouth is kind of seized shut. But when the wires come off and time had gone by, I had practiced more than I ever did before. So my voice was in pretty good shape, and I could sing the way I could sing again. And I remember when I think back on that, because it was so long ago, but when I think back on it, I more than anything, I think about how honestly relieved I was and how grateful I am for that more than anything, rather than think about how awful it was, really how grateful I am that my voice came back and stronger than ever. So
Of all the artists that you have shared the stage with, who would you say was your favorite and why?
that's a tough question. Um, I can't, my
Is that a
mind.
fair question? Is it a fair
Well,
question?
well, no, because it makes it. Well, I don't want to answer it because I don't want to. Like there's so many great people, and
Then you know what? Name some of the great people. Let's not even do it that way. Let's not say one. Let's say a couple of them.
Aaron Davis, Kevin Bright, Davide Lorenzo, George Kohler, David Pilch, um, uh, um, I'm trying to think of all the people I'm trying to think of all the people that I played with on shows and stuff, TV shows and stuff, because there were so many, and it goes by so fast. Benny
Yeah.
Green, um, uh, um, well, there's
Did
some.
you ever get a chance to meet Oscar Peterson? Just curious.
No, I didn't, but no, I really wish I had, but I played at his widow asked me to play at his memorial in Japan, which I went and did, and that was very moving to do that.
What is the difference though, playing somewhere like
There's another
playing
great
here in
sorry,
Canada?
there's another great guy I played with in Japan was Makoto Ozone, and he's a tremendous piano player, and I played with him. That was at the um for Oscar Peterson. Yeah, the Oscar
It
Peterson Memorial.
are the crowds on that side of the world different from say performing here?
Oh yes, really quite a bit different. For one thing, they're they really listen. Like the crowds here listen, it's true, but sometimes they're distracted and this and that. But in Japan they're just fixated on you. And then and then w when the song's over, like most the practice general practice here is when the song is over, right as soon as it's over, people clap and stuff. There they wait to make sure that there's no more to make sure it's very polite to make sure there's no more sound coming, but it's you sort of sit there in the silence and stuff, and then they go like this, they go like this, they go, and that's like it's like a really short, brief thing. But it's not at all because they aren't. You have to get used to it. It's not that they're not appreciative at all. They're really appreciative. They just don't want to step on your toes. It's very respectful. You
I've
know?
never heard of that.
Yeah.
Wow. What
Oh,
was what?
sometimes
Sorry to interrupt.
people would stand up. They're very different practices there. People give you money too and gifts after the show. They come back and say, "Here's money and presents and stuff." It's very unusual, and it gets some takes some getting used to, but it's a wonderful culture in many ways. But they also sometimes, if they really are loving it, they'll just stand up in the middle of a song, like just an individual will stand up in the middle of a song and just give you a standing ovation and yelling and stuff, and then just sit back down, like just as though it's normal practice.
Were you warned about this the first time you played there, or was it just one of those things where you walked in, it happened, it's happening, and you're going, "What is going on?"
Well, it was kind of like, what is going on? Yeah. Oh, I wasn't warned about any of the things. They asked me the bizarre questions in interviews, like, what's your blood type? I don't know. I don't actually don't know. Anyway, I think that I think that it's sort of like saying, what's your sign? Like if you're Sagittarius or whatever. But I think that they read something into what your blood type is. But um, oh, I've had so many wild experiences, and and the names of some of the shows and stuff. I had a number one hit single on a show that was called Midnight Fingers. Yes, I don't know. I don't know.
I've got no words.
No,
No words.
I didn't know either until I sat down to do the interview, and she goes, "Welcome to Midnight Fingers," and I went.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're way off topic. We need
Yeah,
to
that's
get
right.
back to
Okay,
what we are supposed to talk about, which
okay.
is, of course, we've got a new album. Bravo. Let's get into this. What is the name of the new album and how does it represent you at this point in your amazing career?
Well, the new album is called Dark Moon, and it includes a cross section of songs that I've wanted, some of which I've wanted to sing for a long time, but it didn't have the right circumstances. And this album has includes a dream team for me, which is one of the reasons why I did a bunch of the songs I've wanted to record for a long time. And I wanted on this record to really represent not just the spirit of improvisation, of course, always want to represent that, but also of spontaneity in general. And so we didn't rehearse a lot in advance. We went in the studio. We took our time. I recorded it over a couple of years, and we took our time in the studio. We experimented in the studio, and when we went in, I said, "Look, just follow me, and because I'm going to be improvising the arrangements as we go along." And so what you hear on the record, which I love, is that you hear the point at which the light turns on for us in the song, the point at which the essence of the song is that we are grasping it. And so I love that element of risk, and there's excitement for me in terms of hearing the record and hearing there's where we discovered the arrangement.
How did you go about choosing the songs?
Well, as I say, it was a bunch of the songs were songs I wanted to do for a long time. A few songs are about the moon, and the moon has always been a muse for me since I can remember. Like it's way back from, I can tell you a story if you like about when I was a little kid growing up in Nova Scotia, on the east coast of Canada, in a city called Halifax, and a small city. And this is one of my earliest memories. When I was like 3 or 4, maybe, I woke up in the night with something called the croup, which is like a virus that little kids get, and it's like it gives you a barking cough and a fi fever and everything. And I woke my parents up. It was like 3 or 4 maybe in the morning. And I woke my parents up, and my mom crushed me up an aspirin and some canned peaches because thought I would eat it. And my dad wrapped me up in a whole bunch of blankets and put me on his shoulders, and we went out into the night to walk around the neighborhood. Wow. This blew my mind. Like it was beguiling. And the I saw the moon and it was like, wow, how is it possible that it's making everything light up, but in the daytime it's invisible? Like that was magic to me. And there was nobody there, and all I could hear was the sound of like my dad's footsteps on the pavement, and watching everything just basked in this moonlight. And meanwhile, the sea, it's right on the ocean where Halifax is, right on the seawater. And the ocean air was clearing off my croup, and the sound and the sights and the moon and everything was unbelievable. And I remember going back to our house, our family house, and I thought to myself, I have got the most amazing secret. You know, because I had never seen the night before. And I mean, ever since I'm a night person, and I love the moon.
What a great story. Are you be able to share those stories on a tour? Is there a chance you're going to be touring this album?
Yeah, in fact, we're going back to Japan. We tour in Japan quite a lot, and we're going back there in March, and then we're doing some gigs in Canada over the summer, and then I'm hoping in the fall that we're going to Europe and to do some dates in the U.S.
Fantastic. Holly, we'll wrap this up. I got to say thank you so much for doing
You're
this interview
welcome.
with me.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
so much for being such an angel when I first started. Hopefully, I didn't say or ask any, questions that I was like, who is this kid or whatever else. You were
No,
so great with me. And it's such a pleasure after all these years we get to do this again. Thank you so much.
my pleasure.